Reviews for our books are incredibly important, but they can be incredibly hard to get. So what would you say if I told you that the best place to ask for a review for our beautiful children's book is directly in our children's book? Hi there, I'm Eevi, an award-winning children's author and ghostwriter over on eevijones.com and the creator of Children's Book University. I create videos specifically for children's authors, so be sure to subscribe so you don't miss my weekly videos. Here's why placing a review request directly into our book is the best place. 1. The person that we're asking to leave a review has already purchased and read our book. And 2, because those readers have just read our book, we already have their attention right then and there. So placing a review request directly into our book, like authors Nadia, Albert, and John have done right here for their beautiful children's books, is a great way to go about getting more reviews. And that's because we don't have to know the buyers. And with each new purchase, each buyer is automatically prompted to leave a review. And the extra bonus here is that each time readers read our book again to their little ones, they will see the review prompt anew. So even if they didn't review our book right away, they are being reminded to do so every time they get to that prompt page. So in this video, we are going to look at what a review request page is and why including such a page can be so powerful, where to place such a review request page to truly make it effective, how to word or phrase it, and what to include in our request so people feel moved to take action, and also what not to include in such a request. So let's jump right in. Unless people who are reading our book are authors themselves, they often don't know how important reviews truly are. And if we really think about this, how often have we actually left a review for products we have purchased over on Amazon? We oftentimes only remember to leave a review when we didn't like something about a product, right? Yet when we really like something, we are very slow to leave a review simply because we don't have the time or we simply forget to do so. So we as authors can actively help our readers by reminding them to do so. And that's where our review request page would come in. A review request page is simply a concise, to-the-point request for our readers to leave a review for our children's book. Many new authors either don't know about review request pages, or they forget to include them in their book, or they shy away from including such a request simply because they may not have seen them in other books before. And because they may not have seen such requests in other books before, they might believe that such a request would make their book seem less professional. Me included, which is why I didn't have such requests in my earlier books. But having published more than 50 books now, I know how hard it is to get reviews and how hard it is to get people to leave a review. So including a review request can make all the difference. And something really important and interesting many don't know or realize is that so many traditionally published audiobooks and ebooks of genres other than children's books actually prompt readers to leave a review directly after the audiobook has come to an end or directly after an ebook has been completed. So even New York Times bestsellers have these prompts in their audiobook or ebook version of their books. It's just that for whatever reason, authors are still a bit behind this trend when it comes to including such a prompt in their paperbacks and hardcovers, and that is such a missed opportunity. Now, where should we place such a review request? When it comes to the placement of our review request page, I would recommend placing it toward the end of the book, after our story has come to an end. That's also what I shared in my How to Self-Publish a Children's Book. Now, my ninja tip number 1 here would be to actually share such a request directly after our About the Author page, where we are introducing ourselves in our little author bio. If you need help with the writing of your own author bio and to see what to include, make sure to watch my separate video on that. I'll make sure to add the link to it in the description below. That video also has lots of wonderful examples to help you write your own author bio. And so the reason I would recommend placing our review request directly after our author bio is that by sharing a bit about ourselves first, we make ourselves more relatable and we are reminding our readers that a real person is behind our book. So by having our author bio come before our request to leave a review, our readers get a chance to learn a bit more about us first and to connect with us. Now, how should we go about writing our review request to ensure people feel moved to take action? What should we include here? Here I would recommend paying attention to these 6 things. Number one, we'll want to make sure our review request is very concise and to the point. 3 to 5 sentences would be absolutely sufficient here. Number two, we'll want to make sure our review request is written in first person. While we want to write our author bio in third person, we want to write our request in first person. And here's why. Our author bio is in third person because that's how traditionally published works share their author bios as well. Our review request, on the other hand, is meant to feel a lot more personal. It's a request coming directly from you, the author, right? It's a heart-to-heart kind of request, and the best way to do so is if we use our own words and our own voice, speaking directly to the reader. Number three, we will want to make sure we mention where we want them to leave a review. Now here, it's important to really make it as easy as possible for our readers. We don't want to overwhelm them with too many options or choices. Instead, choosing one place where they should leave their review for us will be enough, which in most cases is Amazon, right? Simply because that's where most people find and purchase our book. And sending people to the same place to leave their review instead of multiple different places also ensures that our reviews aren't too scattered across multiple platforms. Number four, we will want to make sure our review request mentions why reviews are so important. As I mentioned earlier, most people don't realize how important reviews truly are. So it is always up to us authors to share this with our readers and to let them know that their review will help other people make the decision as to whether or not to buy our book. Number five, we'll want to make sure we mention that their review doesn't have to be long. This little piece of information can be really powerful because many people think that reviews should be this long, in-depth analysis to make it worth posting, which then in turn prevents them from writing a review altogether simply because they think it will take too much time. In reality, however, one single sentence is absolutely more than enough. The review doesn't have to be long, and so we will want to let our readers know that, either by simply sharing that a one-sentence review would be perfect, or by simply mentioning that it will only take a minute to leave their review. And number six, the final piece of our review request that we want to make sure to include is to express our gratitude. And that's because our readers take time out of their busy days in order to do something that benefits us as authors, right? So we always want to express our appreciation. So what could such a review request look like? Here's an example I put together and that I have used myself many times as well. Let's see if we can identify the different elements here. A word by the author. Your voice truly matters. So if you enjoyed this book, it would mean the world to me if you would take a short minute to leave a heartfelt review on Amazon. Your kind feedback is very appreciated and so very important. Thank you so much for your time. So number one was to keep it super short. So this request right here is 4 short sentences long, so it's concise and to the point. Number two was to write it in first person, which we have done here, right? Number three was to share where we would like readers to leave their review, which in this case is Amazon. So we see Amazon mentioned here. Number four was to share the importance of a review. So in this case, I literally simply mentioned that reviews are important. And I also mentioned that their voice really matters, because it really does. Number five was to let our readers know that the review doesn't have to be long or that it won't take long to leave a review. So here I simply wrote that it will only take a short minute. And number six was to express our appreciation, which we did in the very last sentence here. So I hope that with this example, you can see the different elements here. Feel free to use the script and tweak it to your heart's content. You have my full permission to do so. Now here are a few extras we can add to our review request page to make it stand out even more and to make things even easier for our readers. Extra number one would be to include a direct review link. A direct review link is a URL that takes readers directly to our book's Amazon review page. A link like this is great because that way people don't have to first find our book on Amazon, scroll all the way to the bottom and find the leave a review button. That's especially helpful if people have never left a review on Amazon before. So the easier we can make it for our readers, the better, because the more likely it will be that they actually leave a review. And to help you create such a direct review link, I added a link to a separate video of mine in the description below that will show you how to do just that. It's a really great resource because in that separate video, I will show you how to create a direct review link for readers that are not located in the US as well, because where our readers can leave their reviews will depend on where they are geographically located. So if you wish to include such a direct review link, make sure you watch that video. And here I also wanted to add a quick side note. Something that not many actually know about is that while most ebooks of genres other than children's books can carry links that are actively clickable, Amazon tries to discourage clickable links in ebooks that are meant for kids. It's not impossible, but they do make it harder to do so. And understandably so, right? Because it is meant to protect our children from being able to click on random links in their ebooks. So instead of having a clickable link, what we can do instead is add a QR code to our review page so that our direct review link becomes scannable. And so I made sure to show you exactly how to do that in that separate video I just mentioned. So again, I've added the link to that video in the description below. Extra number 2 would be to include some images from our book. Looking at Nadia and Albert's review request pages again, we can see that each is placed within an adorable illustration. And in Albert's example, we can even see a QR code here beautifully incorporated into the page. Alternatively, if we don't want to pay our illustrator for an extra illustration for this, we can also simply add a mock-up image of our book cover, like I have done in this example right here. I've created this mock-up image of this book using my own book mock-up templates. If you would like to get these templates to create your own, I have added the link for you in the description below. And extra number 3 would be that if you are offering extras with your book, to consider adding a review prompt or review request with a direct review link directly to your download page as well. And with extras, I mean things like coloring pages, recipes, worksheets, or anything else that you may have created or are planning to create for the little readers of your book. If that's something you have never considered before, or if you simply need some really fun ideas of what extras you could create for your own children's book, I also have a separate video on just that is packed with really great ideas, and I've added the link to that video in the description below. So then wherever you're sharing these fun book extras with your readers, that would be the perfect place to also share your book review request. Now that I have shared where to place your review request, what to include in your review request, and how to make sure it stands out, I wanted to make sure I'm also sharing what not to include in a review request. And those do nots are really important because we will want to make sure we are adhering to Amazon's review rules. These review rules always apply whenever we are asking others to leave a review for us, whether we include a review request page or not. Rule number 1 is that while it is absolutely okay for us authors to ask for and request reviews, we will always have to do so without attaching any conditions to our request. What do I mean by that? It is absolutely okay for us to say something like, hey, it would be amazing if you would leave a review for my book. Or, I would be so thankful if you would leave a review for my book. What would not be okay, however, is if we were to attach a condition to this. So for example, I couldn't say, if you leave a review for my book, I will reimburse you for the purchase. Or, if you leave a review for my book, you can come to one of my webinars. If a condition is attached to our request, it is against Amazon's rules. Rule number 2 is that while it is absolutely okay for us authors to ask for and request reviews, we cannot specifically ask for positive reviews only. Reviews have to be honest. So for example, something we shouldn't say is something like this: please don't leave a negative review. However, what we could do instead is what you have seen in my script I have shared with you earlier. Here I wrote, if you enjoyed this book. So by phrasing it this way, I don't actually discourage readers from leaving a negative review, right? Instead, I'm simply encouraging or emphasizing taking action if they felt a certain way about my book. The difference is very subtle, but very important. And rule number 3 should go without saying. Paid reviews are absolutely prohibited. So please, if you have been tempted to pay for reviews, just don't. It's really not worth it. and it's against Amazon's rules. If you need help with legitimate reviews, make sure you watch my video on how to have a successful launch, or try something like my 30-day launch mastery instead, where I walk you through your book launch one day at a time so you have lots of beautiful reviews at the end of your launch period. I'll make sure to share the links to both in the description below. When it comes to reviews, it is so important to express our needs to our readers because most simply don't realize how important reviews are. Sometimes it helps to remember that if we don't ask, the answer will always be no. And so placing a review request at the end of our children's book can be so powerful. Remember, audiobooks have a review request pop up at the end of the audiobook automatically, and so do most ebooks of other genres as well. And how often have we received automated review request emails for products we have purchased on Amazon? So it's time to step up our game, and by including a beautifully crafted review request page in our own children's book, we'll do just that. I hope you found this video really helpful and that it inspired you to actively ask for reviews for your beautiful children's book. Please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't yet. It really encourages me to keep making free videos for you just like this one. Here's to many wonderful reviews. Bye!